mama say the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you move.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Shark Sandwich, a series where we look at controversial, divisive or panned arthouse films from across the world of cinema to see where we land on the scale. Today we're looking at 1968's Rosemary's Baby, directed by Roman Polanski, who is a guy who's kind of above the pay grade of the others when it comes to controversies. I mean, we've had controversial movies and controversial directors, but this guy kind of takes the cake, I would say.
I would agree.
But yeah, we're gonna be reviewing his movie today, and I guess I'll let you start.
So for the first time on this channel, I've actually watched the film before. Like, this wasn't my first time seeing this film. And you know, like, I saw it like maybe 5 years ago, and I remember liking it, but I was kind of hesitant to come back to it for a couple of reasons, but I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. No, it's incredibly powerful, not only like as a horror film, but just in the way it can just use the simplest thing to make you feel so uneasy and tense at like every turn. Like, literally, even the most like slight differences just all help to create like this really unsettling off feeling. Everything from like the excellent cinematography, the soundtrack. I feel like I'm just talking like one of those guys on Instagram who's like, I rate the cinematography 10 out of 10, soundtrack 10 out of 10, plot 10 out of 10. But I really do feel that way because I just think it's an immense film. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it because I did too. I thought it was pretty amazing. And when I heard about the movie, I thought it would be kind of like a cheap horror flick kind of thing. I didn't expect for it to be so... I don't know what to say, but like, it's not a movie where you're always shown the scariest thing or whatever, but like the tension of each scene and like the constantly like developing plot is what makes you feel tense the entire time, knowing that she's slowly but surely like falling into the hands of something unknown and evil. And I just thought the way that sense of dread developed throughout the film was amazing, because I just felt my pulse like rising and rising with every scene, knowing that she's like not getting out of this at all. Another thing about the movie that I like was surprised by was like how funny it was, especially in the first half. I was like, all the character interactions, especially with like how of course I forgot their names now, but the older couple, the way they acted and their older quirks and stuff, it just made me laugh. And it's interesting that like pretty much every horror movie I like, or like a thriller I like, has some sense of humor about it, which I always feel like the two go hand in hand. Like Jordan Peele says with his quote about like horror movies just being comedies with a different soundtrack or whatever. I don't remember the exact quote, but something like that. And I think it's true, the two do go like hand in hand. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty phenomenal movie. It really places you into the shoes of the main character, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. That's actually the next thing that I was going to mention, was like how funny it is, because it genuinely, like, I didn't really remember that from when I watched it, but no, it genuinely is really funny. Even like at the film's like, don't know what you say, like its climax, as you would when she goes into the other bit and she sees the baby who's the devil and all that. Like the guy with like the camera, like taking the pictures and like smiling at her, taking these pictures while she's like sitting there like sobbing, like it had me actually laughing. And it's like one of the most like really like frightening scenes in the film, and it's really like expertly crafted the way that he can just like balance that humor and like terror, and like so like almost with like ease the way that it's blended, which I thought was really effective. I know you're gonna mock me for saying this because I always get mocked by you for saying this, but like what a tremendous cast in this film, tremendous cast all round. You've got Mia Farrow, of course, John Cassavetes, who we have to kind of give a wee bit of credit for because he did give us the name of this channel. In case you forgot that, so we kind of have to credit him for that.
Shout out.
We've got Ralph Bellamy, Charles Grodin, two great comedic actors. Maud from Harold and Maude, and we've got Tony Curtis, the great Tony Curtis, on the phone as the actor guy. And actually, the film reminded me a lot of The Sopranos in a lot of ways. There's of course there's the dream sequences, which obviously you can make like your Fellini or your Bergman comparisons there, but it reminded me a lot of The Sopranos and the way they like stylized their dream sequences, like especially like the stuff on the boat and all that, and as well with Sopranos the way that they use the humour in a way that's like people create the humour rather than like a Chaplin comedy or something like that, where it's like, you know what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And as well, how in The Sopranos, like the world of crime and like the killing people and all that, it's just seen as like the 9 to 5. That's just like there's nothing odd about what's going on. The same way in this film, like the way that these like Satanists or whatever just like they just go about like this is like they're in like a country club or something. I just felt like that was maybe David Chase was inspired by that, because I know he like his inspiration comes from a lot of different places, and that's just kind of what I felt watching it.
It's a surprisingly emotional film as well, because the way that Mia Farrow like just I don't know, her acting is amazing in this film. She's definitely like, yeah, I don't know, she elevates the film. I don't think I would have like appreciated the film to the same level, because she has a difficult role to pull off where her agency is stripped away and you still have to like feel for her, even though she's like kind of just like flailing about in the midst of this like completely fucked up scenario. She can't like escape or anything, and it's hard to be, I guess, sympathetic in that kind of role, because the viewer naturally wants the characters in a movie to do more to get out of their situation. It's like the thing with modern horror movies or like 2000s horror movies where they're like dumb and always make mistakes that forces them into their situations. She pulls off the role so well because she shows the anxiety and I guess the paranoia and just the total like confusion of it all that makes you do those mistakes, and becomes like all the more sympathetic because of it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. I think a lesser actor would falter, especially in a role, because it is a really difficult role, as you say. And I think as well is the way that, like you say, doesn't make she doesn't just make stupid decisions to like advance the plot forward. She genuinely is trying. Like as much as she like isn't doing a very good job, she is actually trying. Just like, what can she do? She's kind of just like it's a catch-22 almost. There's literally like, she can't go to a doctor because he gets her husband and that to come in. She can't go to her husband. She can't do anything. She's at a total loss. And it really like, I feel like probably the film is maybe, I don't know if this is the right word to use, like allegorical for like a domestic abuse or like an emotional abuse kind of situation where a person is trapped and it like there is no way out. She can't talk to anyone, she can't go to anyone. Everything is treated like it's all right, like nothing bad is happening, and she's like dying. This is killing her. And I think really as well, like you have to give credit to Farrow because she is incredible, but I think Cassavetes as well deserves his praise for this, because I think he's just superb. Just like, he plays it so he's like so frightening without even needing to raise his voice. Just like his total like indifference to his wife's complete suffering is actually like frightening.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, and like I think he pulls off a really subtle shift in the movie because at the start you're like, okay, this guy doesn't believe her because he's a natural like skeptic and maybe a little bit dumb. He doesn't want to listen to his wife, and you're like, okay, so he's just like this guy who doesn't care enough about her. But then he like subtly shifts as she realizes more and more, and you start to realize the sinister part of him, the part of him that's actually actively doing this to her and actively ignoring her pleas for help because he needs her to suffer for his own benefit. And when it comes to like allegorical readings or like metaphorical readings, I definitely think there's a read of the movie where it's like it's about domestic abuse, and especially like how rape is normalized within like marriages, especially at that time and earlier, even like up until this day. It's kind of normalized for the wife to have to put up with a husband who wants a child or wants to have, sex for whatever reason. She's just like expected to eventually give in, and if not, he can, do whatever he wants. And it's been normalized for so long, and I think the movie, maybe if not intentionally, at least like as a
I dreamed someone was
as a byproduct of what the movie is about. Otherwise, it becomes a movie about how like a woman's role in that kind of relationship, she's forced into a world where she's being made to suffer, and then nobody around her really cares because they don't consider it like bad. They don't consider it to be a bad thing, and nobody wants to like actually confront what's going on. And even with like Dr. Hill, I believe his name was, he's like this beacon of light in the midst or towards the end of the movie, and you think he's going to help her, but he doesn't believe her because society is built up to where you're supposed to believe a man before you believe his wife.
Yeah, ultimately it's a tragedy. It really just like, it's like, especially that scene with Charles Grodin, Dr. Hill, it's so like gut wrenching when Cassavetes walks in, genuinely, like, because you do feel like for once like this could maybe start going well for her, and it just all immediately comes crumbling back down, and it's just so tragic. But I do think Cassavetes maybe took like some lessons from this into his own work, especially with stuff like Women Under the Influence, which feel a lot like it's responding to that kind of like that normalized like view of women. It's like, especially at that time, and just how like society sees like the men are like they're the men that you can trust, and women are women. But like, it is, and regardless of kind of what you can say about Polanski as a person or what he's done, I do think that was intentional in this film. I think it really kind of is ahead of its time in that way. Like, it's like even scenes like you have them like talking about their period and stuff like that is the kind of thing that you wouldn't see in a film. Like, you hadn't been in a film before, because that's just like, films weren't about women, really. I know that there are films about women, and I'm not gonna like say that, but in this way where you see like a woman who responds to rape in a way where she can be like, this is not something that I want, or that this should not be just something that I have to put up with. I generally try and like stray from talking about like cinematography and stuff in films, because it's an area where really like I don't know what I'm talking about. But like, there's so much of this like hinges on like how the apartment is shot. Like, there's so many, like, something I noticed a lot in this is like shots of doorways, and it's like someone standing, like they're usually on the phone, and you can't really see them, so you almost like actually move your body like to the right to like try and get a glimpse into the room, and that kind of feels to me like exactly like how it is to be like in the film. Like she's constantly trying to like get the peek behind the curtain, try to figure out what's happening to her, what's going on. And I think like filming those scenes like that, you almost are like put in that position yourself. But something like the apartment scenes are filmed so like claustrophobically, it's literally like always there's like a door frame in the way or something. You've never got like just a clear shot, and it's like you really notice that in the like the scene where it's the guy's funeral, like when they go to the graveyard, like suddenly you can like see everything, you can see the whole screen, and you're like, oh my god, that's how like claustrophobic, that's how close in that's been this whole time. Like even the scenes like where she's like on the streets in New York, they're like filmed so like close up, like people always walking past and stuff. It's even still claustrophobic. It's just that whole area, there's no room to breathe.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have much to add to the cinematography, but I think a thing I did notice is that like every scene that has something red, whether it be the roses or something, or like I mean, especially the roses, they're really popping out. Like I love the color in this film, and also I think Mia Farrow wears like a red dress or something in the scene, and I noticed like, oh shit, that pops out a lot. I don't know, it's just a detail. I don't think it's important.
No, that's a good catch. I didn't like consciously pick up on it, but it definitely, well, like red is like, not to be like a sexual, but like red is the bad color.
Yeah, and it's also like Roman, he wears a red, like, I don't know if it was a vest or like a jacket, but like the reds really pop out. And of course there's, as you said, red is the bad color, and you know, connections to hell and Satan, and but also love, and you know, stuff like that. So it's a color that has a lot of meanings. I also think there's a lot of yellow in the film. Those are the two colors
I definitely noticed. I definitely noticed a lot of yellow.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's interesting though, like I wouldn't have like pointed that out, but then when you say it, like immediately I'm like, oh yeah, there was a lot of yellow and there was a lot of red.
It's like a silent part of what makes a movie good. It's not something you maybe immediately notice, but it like feeds into the overall quality of the film when there's like such intentional color choice for each scene.
No, absolutely. And that, and part of that, like this film feels like, it's a lot to me feels like the bridge between like the old Hollywood and the new Hollywood. I feel like, if you know what I mean, it's kind of like it combines like the old Hollywood like style of doing things with some of the more new Hollywood like attitudes and subject matters and stuff. Like you've got a lot of stuff like the scenes of her like walking around on the like on the New York streets reminded me of like the French New Wave and how they kind of shot things like that handheld way, which obviously kind of influenced a lot of what would come in later, and like especially in the 70s and later on as well. And you've got just the like it's structured, and it's got all these like old Hollywood actors and stuff. It feels like the bridge, like this is like, along with films like Midnight Cowboy and stuff, are blending the gap between the two.
I guess I should mention the stuff it reminds me of, because I wrote down some stuff it reminded me of. I wrote that it reminded me of, or more like Aronofsky's Mother, his movie. His movie reminded me of this because it has a similar kind of plot premise, and it also goes off the same idea of having like these strangers invade your home, or like get more and more influence over your home life. But I guess, I mean, Aronofsky is renowned for, you know, ripping off people, so I'm not surprised he kind of ripped this off as well. And it also reminded me of It reminded me of Kubrick's movies, especially The Shining, and I know that Kubrick has like mentioned this being one of his favorite films, I think. And also David Lynch, I think. But I mean, not as much, but I think maybe like I think what reminded me the most was the use of like roses, because it reminded me of Blue Velvet and like the dream sequences. That's what like made me think of David Lynch. And I guess also like the mixture of like having a horror or like a comedy slash horror slash drama thing. That's kind of his thing, you know. So I definitely think this movie played a part in both his and Kubrick's understanding of cinema as a whole, maybe.
This is like one of those films when you watch it, you're like, oh, so that's where all this stuff came from. Like, it really, like, it is so pioneering and so influential. Like, I was kind of, like, nervous talking about it just because it's, like, such a classic. Like, it's probably the first, like, properly, like, classic film that we've, like, covered in this. We had, like, big shoes to fill. So I was kind of nervous for that.
But yeah, no, because most films we've done are, like, either cult films or, like, just movies nobody cares about anymore. So, I mean, it's cool to watch something like this. And also frightening to talk about it because I mean, because it's a scary film. I feel like I could never match up to like the greatness. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, like even like professional critics like nowadays just say like, oh, what can you say about it that hasn't been said already? Yeah, what a lame cop out. I used to do that before, but fuck it, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm just gonna I feel say like whatever's on my mind. I agree, and also I feel like we've said stuff that I haven't like necessarily seen people talk about before or like in this fashion. Yeah, for sure. So even when you feel like there's nothing left to say, there's always something left to say. Oh wow, that's a quote for the audience. Yes, it is. Keep that in mind for future endeavors. Hold that on screen just for like a couple extra seconds. Okay, thank you. Just hold it up again. Just like bring it back up. Just feel like they could. Bring what back up? The quote. Bring the quote back up. Oh, I just feel like I feel like they. I feel like they could, back up. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. I feel like they could just take that in. I feel like they didn't really take it in the first time. Could maybe do a wee bit better. All right. But now wait a minute. One more time. Yeah, one more minute. Wait a minute. All right. If you take the letters of this quote and you rearrange it, it spells out, "I am Lord Voldemort." Okay, yeah. I actually thought about the same thing when I watched the movie. Yeah, I'll let you have it in my notes. Oh my god. Okay, I guess let's talk about that haircut. What the? Actually, I had that in my notes. You did? What does it say? I was gonna. This is what I'd written. I said like, oh, there's something I need to ask you about. Like you need to address the elephant in the room. Just given whose film this is, like we kind of can't not talk about it. So I'm just gonna come forward and I'm just gonna ask you, what do you think of Mia Farrow's haircut? Oh my god. You get what I was going for there? I took your joke before you got to tell it. Nah, I wasn't going to tell it because you already like mentioned him at the start because I didn't know whether you were going to like acknowledge Polanski or if you were just going to pretend it didn't happen. Yeah, so you're gonna like acknowledge like his misdeeds, so to speak. Yeah, I mean the guy is literally on the lam. He's like wanted. He's way above like anybody else we've done so far. Like in terms of controversy, he's not controversial. He's a fucking criminal. I'm not gonna defend Woody Allen, which is a great way to start a sentence. But I always feel like it's like you really can't like. I feel weird when people like compare the two of them because really it like Polanski's like a straight up like pedo. Yeah, he is like straight up a pedo, and Woody Allen is only arguably a pedo. So yeah, there's a big difference there. When you put it like that, it doesn't sound so good. No, the haircut. We forgot to mention the haircut 100. Like it's funny when the way that like
Rick Cassavetes acts when she walks in. He's just like, oh my god, that is horrible. That is like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Doesn't he like ask like who did that to you or something?
He
Something to that effect.
sound like that. Like as if she like just walked in with like a black eye.
Yeah, he's really funny in the movie. He's great. He's amazing.
No, the haircut though has like become iconic as well, in its own way. Like,
has it?
Yeah, no, it has. That haircut's like famous. Like if you see
Yeah, I
like
mean,
all
I've
like
seen-
the
I've
Rosemary's
seen it,
Baby
like,
haircut, people know what you're
Eminem.
talking about. Eminem is paying tribute to
Rosemary's
Baby, Mia Farrow. But it's like Jonathan Glazer's birth. Nicole Kidman has like a haircut just like it. Like he's like paying homage, tribute to the film that came before. But no, it's iconic. Like I say, if you like say like the Rosemary's Baby haircut, people will like know what you're talking about.
Before we go on to trivia, I want to talk a little bit more about the movie because I do have some stray thoughts about it that I like thought about while we watched this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that like when we talked about Mia Farrow's role in the movie, playing a woman who's not believed by her male peers for the most part, and I think the scene where she's comforted by her, like, I assume friends. I think she says they are like friends from, before, when they comfort her and like close him out. I think that's like a really like sweet moment of like, I don't know, community and how there is protection to get like from your peers, from people even though it feels like everybody around you is like a part of a bigger cultural problem. There's still like some escape, and I think it's really sweet to have that moment of like release in that part of the film, and I just appreciated that moment, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It really it sticks out as a moment of a glimpse of humanity, as you would say. I don't know if I think you actually did say that. Where just like when they close out the door on him, it's actually like you're like, oh my god, this is happening, and it does show you, especially with women. I feel like there's a really kind of a strong connection a lot of women feel as well with each other, strong solidarity there, just because like I'm not going to say they've all been there, but like they have all been there. It's a shared connection, it's a shared, because they are part of that culture that normalizes like abuse and like casual rape.
The way I thought about it was, when I watched the movie, at least I thought about it as like the only thing that can like cast out evil is probably not like a good spell or like a good witch, but like the humanity, the goodness of humanity that can keep out the outside forces. You have people around you can lean on and depend on, and who will protect you in some way. And I think that's a really sweet, like, I mean, I guess it's not exactly a message, but it's a part of the film where like the evil is not like all encompassing. It's not like there's no escape, but it's just difficult to find that escape, and you find that escape through humanity, just like general humanity.
I feel like there's possibly a connection here you can make with AI, artificial intelligence, the film, not the actual thing. In the way that also, as you mentioned, humanity is kind of what connects and what saves, and how humanity is there even when you don't think it necessarily is. But also in the way that, like, in AI, artificial intelligence, it's a journey. Like, Haley Joel Osment, he's going on a journey, and that like it can end well. There is no like happy ending at the end of this journey. In the same way, even though you want it to go well, you want things to go well for Rosemary, by the end this isn't going to end well for her. This is not gonna have a happy ending, and it's so tragic just to have to watch and endure this pain and suffering with no relief. There's no like light at the end of the tunnel for these people. It's just pain and then it's over. Even when you think maybe it could go well, like that, you kind of get that in both films where you think there's like a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not. It's a false light. It's an electric light that's powered by solar panels, and it's nighttime.
Wow.
Now, do you know what I mean though?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I completely understood.
And I've always thought that about this film.
There's actually no like magic depicted, and I don't know if that's like intentional or a budget thing, but I do think it's kind of like it adds to the suspense because you don't know what's happening. You don't see like a actual ritual happening, except for in the dream sequence. That's the only ritual you see, but like the rest you don't even like. You don't have any like idea what you're doing behind those walls.
I mean, it is just as much like an old-fashioned mystery movie towards the end as it is like a horror. It's like a proper like noir mystery.
One of the comparisons I had that I hadn't written down, but this is very much like I wouldn't say it's like a Hitchcock film, but there's definitely like traces of him.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think even like, you know, the color scheme, the usage of colors, especially like if you compare it to Vertigo and, you know, his movies that are in color, it's inspired by them. And I guess like just about any thriller at the time is inspired by Hitchcock, but I think this one is even more intentionally so. I think it also brushes upon some of the same themes, even though Hitchcock never... I mean, okay, I'm not gonna say never, but like he never did it in the same way as this film where the female experience was centered as much as this. So this feels like a continuation of some of the ideas he had of like a relationship where the woman is like the victim of of her male partner and like his obsession and him using her for his own like goals. Like in Vertigo, there's the obsession that happens by like halfway of the movie, and then he tries to make her like his dead girlfriend or wife. I don't remember, but like there's definitely the same like, you know, exploiting a woman to get some sort of thing out of it, whether it's a successful career or reigniting your like love life.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This does feel like in a lot of ways like Hitchcock's last movie kind of thing. Like a lot of the DNA there is shared. I know Hitchcock made movies after this and he was also still alive when it came out, but the point still stands. Right, what now? What now, my love, to quote Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah. We can go to trivia. Wow.
Oh wow, amazing. Trivia.
Trivia is up. Alright, let's do a funny one to begin with. Shall
let's
we?
Start off. Like the film, let's start off funny and get more horrible.
So, John Lennon was brutally murdered outside the hotel this movie was filmed in.
Oh my god. I didn't know it was the hotel this was filmed. I knew it was like a hotel in New York. I didn't know it was this hotel.
Yeah, it's this hotel.
Which is funny because in the film, outside of the hotel, a death does occur.
Exactly, because she does kill herself. The woman I forgot the name of, she jumped out the window or whatever. And that's the spot where he died. He was shot there. He was shot outside.
That's crazy.
Yeah, many fans suspect he died to the Rosemary Baby's curse. And what exactly is this curse? Well, some people believe the movie is cursed. and that it led to, insanity, death, and stuff like that. And one of the people who thought it was cursed is actually the producer of the film, William Castle.
Wow.
He was actually convinced there was a curse, and he thought that the Sharon Tate murder and like a urinary tract infection he got, I think, and some other stuff, like it was all a part of like the curse. So he actually secluded himself in his home for like several years or whatever. Yeah, he was like scared that devil was out to get him, so he lived in seclusion.
The Sharon Tate thing I can kind of get, because like she went out with Roman Polanski. Him getting a UTI, it must be the film's fault.
And it's kind of funny because he was a producer on the film, but he actually wanted to direct it. But when he asked the studio to direct it, he was denied because they were like, he's actually like a B movie director, so they didn't want him to like make a
B movie
like that. Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld could have been in it.
And William Castle, since we're talking about him,
yeah,
he said that working with Polanski was a painful experience because the latter was a perfectionist who took several nights to shoot a simple scene that could have been taken in only a couple of hours. And I mean, I made a comparison earlier, but I'll let you decide what director this reminds you of. And you can answer if you want.
I wonder who you could be referring to here.
Polanski also shot scenes like at the worst hours, like at rush hour. And another fun trivia related to this fact is that he's actually the one who filmed the scene where Mia Farrow walks in front of the cars. He's the one holding the camera.
Oh, really?
And also that scene is completely real. He just told her to walk out in front of the cars in traffic, and nobody was warned. And his explanation was that nobody's going to run over a pregnant woman.
Well, he was right. You have to hand
yeah,
it,
he was right. Nobody ran over her. So right. I mean, so you mentioned Frank Sinatra earlier, didn't you?
Yes, actually, I happened to mention him.
Did you know that he was married to Mia Farrow? You probably did.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, and did you know that he pressured her to quit this movie?
No.
Oh wow, because that's interesting. Because he did pressure her to quit this movie.
But it's pretty funny if you're like no, because he didn't, so that's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, he did, and then one of the executives, one of the producers, Robert Evans, showed her the dailies and told her she'll win the Oscar for the movie. And then she decided to keep going with the movie, and Frank Sinatra divorced her because of it.
Wow.
Yeah, and another fun fact following this, it's really funny, it's just great. She didn't receive a single nomination or a single Oscar for this, obviously. I mean, this is like a useless piece of trivia, but I think it's kind of interesting. In the book, it's more explicit what she is doing towards the end when she approaches the baby and starts to rock him. Because in the book, she actually does contemplate murdering him, and then she changes her mind and decides that she wants to like rehabilitate him or like make sure he becomes a good person despite of his like lineage or whatever, like being the son of Satan. That's like spelled out explicitly in the book, but I kind of do prefer in the movie where it's like an open ending of sorts. You don't know what happens, except you can actually find out what happens in the sequel, which is called Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby, which is like it's an awful title.
It sounds like a comedy.
It does sound like a comedy. It sounds like, the worst like rom-com you've ever seen.
Look What Happened to Rosemary. It's actually like, I know about it, like in infamy. But like what an awful title. Like at first I thought like, oh, this actually could be kind of cool. It's like a comedy like sequel to Rosemary's Baby. Then I looked at it and I'm like, oh, this is actually not a comedy.
Yeah, it's a made for like TV
Yeah.
movie that's trying to be, scary and a horror movie. A fun fact about it is that it's actually like directed by the editor of Rosemary's Baby.
Oh,
So it's a
really?
guy
Yeah.
who was involved in the movie, but like I guess he just completely went off the rails at some point.
Guess so. It must been. It's probably the Rosemary's Baby's curse striking again.
Yeah, probably. Oh, yeah, one more thing.
Okay, Columbo.
Roman Polanski said working with John Cassavetes was not his best experience. John was not very comfortable with the role, and according to Mia Farrow, Cassavetes resented Polanski's highly structured method of shooting scenes, saying he preferred to improvise and a more freewheeling approach.
Yeah, that's like.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that literally is his thing. Like he'll just, that's what he's all about. Is like the improvising stuff. Like if people like stumble on a line in their scene, he just like keeps it in because it's more natural. Because people do like stumble on their words sometimes, and that's like the antithesis of clearly Polanski's approach. So yeah, I can imagine they would clash heads in that one.
Yeah, for sure. And also, a second part to this trivia is eventually the tensions grew between the two because of their conflicting approaches to the film. Or to film. In an interview featured on the Criterion Collection, Polanski said Cassavetes was a pain in the ass. So that's nice.
Yeah, that is actually quite cool.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for trivia. So, I guess, unless you have something more to add, we can move on to the next part. So, with the consensus being that people love this film, do you agree with consensus? Do you hate it? Or are you indifferent? Decide now or die.
Like Rosemary's Baby curse. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually have to agree with the consensus on this one. Do you agree with the consensus? Do you hate the film? Or are you indifferent?
I agree with the consensus, actually.
Wow.
So we're on the same page here.
We're all on the same page.
We need to stop agreeing on movies. We
Yeah,
need to stop agreeing. Next movie we have to disagree.
I'm kind of hoping.
Opposite of you.
I just make it up, even if you did like it. Just play devil's advocate.
Say I hate it. But yeah, I mean, there's no way I'm not gonna agree with consensus. This movie is like a perfect encapsulation of like paranoia, being closed off from community, being, persecuted for, just being a woman, basically. It's like, it's the perfect movie in that sense, where it really captures an experience that no movie had captured up until that point. So yeah, I love the movie, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm glad that we finally. I mean, I'm honestly like, it's very deserving in its position in like the greatest films, like the hallowed halls of the greatest films of all time. But it is one of those things where, like, even though it makes sense that it's there, I'm still kind of like surprised that it's seen that way, just because of like how striking it is in so many ways. It seems like the kind of film that like so many people would hate, just because of what it is. But no, it's beloved, and that's for good reason, because it deserves to be beloved.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. And also, sorry to bring this up, but I just noticed I have like the movie up on my screen here, the poster, and I can see that it's similar to the movie I brought up earlier. It's similar to Mother by Aronofsky, and also the poster for End of Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
With like the head and.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. I just noticed that. It's pretty crazy. I'll send you a picture in DMs, because
it's straight up end of Evangelion?
Yeah, it is.
My life. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
the
pretty
mother,
crazy.
the mother one's clearly like, I don't even know if that's the real poster, but that's clearly like an homage
Oh,
to the
yeah, it is.
the Rosemary's Baby. That's crazy. The end of Evangelion one. Oh my god.
Okay. So, if you had to sum up this movie with one word, what would it be?
One word.
One word.
I'll go for elevator.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting because there actually is like a prominent feature of an elevator here.
Yeah,
Which we didn't even
why.
mention.
That's why I
Mention.
chose it. That's why I'm saying it now, because we didn't mention
Yeah.
it. That I'm mentioning it now. What about yourself? What word would you choose?
I mean, it's difficult because for each of these movies, I've had to like pick a specific one, like a specific word, and at some point you run out of words. But I think this movie and this movie only fits with the word memories or memory.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
That fits
because
so well.
Yeah, I don't think any other movie could fit with this word, to be honest.
No, I agree. Same with my word.
Yeah, there's not many elevators in films nowadays.
Nope,
They
there's
cut
not.
those out.
They cut it out.
They cut it out. They don't want to show elevators, and you gotta wonder why.
Yeah. Well, we know.
We know.
We know,
It's
but
them. It's them.
who's going to be the one brave enough to say it? That's what I'll ask.
Yeah. Maybe Kanye West.
He's probably said it like 100 times already.
Yup. Alright, yeah. That's it for this video. I don't think I have anything else to add. If you do, this is your time to speak. If not, then hold your silence forever. Alright. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye, bye,
Bye.
bye. Bye, bye. Okay,
Bye.
we can stop now. Bye.
Bye.